Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you try, something just won't work and it's all your fault? No matter what you do, what you say, it just won't change. What if the problem isn't you, but what you're working with? We're going to really talk about feeling stuck and self judging in this video. I'm going to share a simple 30-minute method to free yourself from self judgment and get unstuck. I'm going to use my notes so that I stay on track. I am seeing how when things don't move, regardless, whether that's in your business or in your life or in a situation, the very first person we judge is ourselves. I'm going to give you a method to work with this. The moment you start judging yourself and you flood a lot of emotional intensity into this moment that you're trying so desperately to change, that's the moment that you miss all the information that you can be using to create something different. So let me tell you a little bit about my client. We're going to call her Mary. Mary came to her session today and she was feeling incredibly stuck. She's in a sales job. She was convinced that she was failing because of her own shortcomings. Now, get this, we've been meeting for 3 sessions and things have really changed over the 3 sessions. But now again on the third session with this similar and same energy coming up for the third time, I realized I needed to take a different tack. And one of the first things that I did with her is I said, what would you need me to hear that you think I'm not getting that would change this for you? And everything melted and tears came. And she said, just how hard this is. So that's where we started. We really started with acknowledging like how impossible this felt. Now, one of the things that you need to know that you probably don't know when you're in that kind of situation is that there are these things that come up when we're in adult life where it's not our adult handling them anymore. For whatever the reasons, whatever the mix of things are, we have gotten ourselves into a situation where our 2-year-old or our 3-year-old or our 4-year-old is now trying to handle this thing. And as most of you know, if you put one of your small children in charge of your life, you probably would have a really hard time. So it's not logical, but it's one of the things that happens when you're born and you have a body, but especially if you go through any kind of trauma as a child. So what was happening first thing was that she was trying to handle this impossible thing that wouldn't change from her child. And so we addressed that. But what was showing up on the outside was that she was going above and beyond and getting nowhere. She was literally doing more than what they were asking her to do in her job and having zero success. And I don't know if you've ever been in a business or a job for a year where every single thing that you do that is supposed to create success doesn't. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but that takes a big toll on your confidence. So she's putting all this energy in and getting nothing out. Well, it hit me because I have a partner who's in sales. It hit me to ask her, has it ever occurred to you that they are not setting you up to succeed? Now, I realize that you and I go into situations and we pretty much assume that everybody's going to be like us. We assume that people are going to be generous and they're going to be kind and they're going to want us to succeed and they're going to do everything they possibly can for us to succeed because that's what we would do. But that is not what people do. And when you're talking about working for big organizations, there can be multiple things going on, multiple points of view, multiple energies. It could be that organizations running themselves into the ground. It could be that they're not willing to be present. It could be that they have, God, the thing, endless. So I said, what if you weren't actually set up to succeed? What was interesting after that question is things got lighter. Now, whenever you hit a pocket of lightness, that's when you've hit on something that's true. And so as we looked at that, I extrapolated on that, just like I did with you here. It's very possible that they'd given you the worst leads in the bunch and you don't have a great manager. She said a couple things that the manager said. I'm like, that's not really leadership. But you've missed all that information. We've missed all that information because the person we were busy judging was ourselves. So the huge takeaway was if you could look at this just from an information point of view, as your adult and not as the kid who's just in reaction because they're trying to make an impossible situation work, which is what we did as children, by the way. We had all this awareness and stuff we were trying to cope with as little beings that we couldn't can cope with. It was uncopable. It was absolute insanity. And yet we tried anyway and felt so paralyzed and so stuck and so overwhelmed because we were trying to balance insanity, which is what now we're trying to do as adults in these pockets where we get ourselves stuck. And we couldn't. And so instead of trying to handle it from there, step back and be the adult with this little one and go, okay, what is all the information here that I'm not seeing? And what can I do with all of this? This showed up in my life as well. I've shared off and on about the different struggles that Andres and I have had over the years, and we've put ourselves in the most stressful positions that you could possibly put yourself into in terms of international moves and cross-cultural marriage and pandemic and quarantine and all the things. I probably don't even understand the full breadth of that. Well, this year it hit a peak. And it was in a moment where I was also flooding a lot of emotional intensity into something to try to get it to change, that a literal light bulb went on in my head. I had in the rest of my life been learning a lot. This year has been the year of learning. I'm learning new platforms. I'm learning new business models. I'm being new with myself, with my business, with my life. It's just been constant learning, especially since July of 2024. And so I have 82 books that I've got on my thing now. I've got a tab in my browser that's just called Study These with 18 tabs open where I just need to go learn stuff. I'm learning. Back to the relationship where I'm flooding emotional intensity into this moment. And it dings in my head. Is there something I need to learn here? We need to learn. Now, that had literally never occurred to me. Okay. In the relationship for me, the person who had gotten triggered on repeat for years had been my little person. Now, I couldn't see this as clearly at the time. Everything just felt horrible. And that's the thing, when your little person gets triggered, the world is ending and you're stuck and there's nothing you can do. So now I can see it a little more clearly. I'm like, oh, this little one has been this is impossible. This is never going to work. This is a disaster. Energy was there. Now I've been an adult enough. I'm learning a lot of stuff. So it taps in to go, is there anything we could learn here? Anyway, I ended up ordering 3 books from the Gottmans. If you guys have never read any relationship books from the Gottmans, go buy them immediately. Game changed. There was one in particular, What Men Need to Know About Women, that in chapter 1 gave us an opening to a completely different possibility that when Andreas became willing to read it, changed our dynamic forever. Literally in the last month, we've had a completely different relationship from that one chapter. There I was feeling stuck, like nothing could change. I knew something different needed to happen. The pain had to end. And that was the same with my client, Mary. The pain had to end. She had to leave this job. I realized I was missing information and stuck in judgment. I bought the new books and Andres took some new action. What a gift he is. When you stop judging and you start seeking information, you unlock new choices and possibilities. So I want to take you through what I'm calling this 30-minute method, just step by step. And the goal is to shift from judging yourself to feeling empowered in hopefully less than 30 minutes. Maybe it's 5 for you. Hopefully you're fast. The first step you want to do here is ask yourself, who's trying to handle this situation? Is it big me or little me? Now, if you discover that little you is trying to handle this situation, you need to go to her or him and be with her or him. And what you might want to do is let your awareness roll over for what reason she or he might be feeling this way. What happened back then? Maybe it wasn't even one event. Maybe this cluster emotion, this emotional intensity has been a go-to impossibility in your world for quite some time. And maybe you just kept getting stuck in different ways and you would eventually find your way around it. But maybe this has been there a while, which means that this little part of you isn't adult yet. They are still stuck in little you. So be with that for a minute and just notice, okay, it's little me trying to handle a very adult, complex situation here. Once you have some calm there, That's when I would say go to step two, which is step back. You want to pause and detach emotionally from the situation and just ask, have I set myself up to succeed here? If it's a situation between you and you. So in the relationship for me, it's like, have I set myself up to succeed? No. I was absolutely 100% missing information, trying to get things to work without the education that we needed for them to work. Since we've gotten the education, we are like different people. Isn't that cool? So have I set myself up to succeed here? Have I been set up to succeed here if you're in a job or another situation? If you're in a cash flow light situation, have I set myself up to succeed here? Or am I just projecting and expecting that this should work and going into panic and overwhelm? And is that working? So then you really want to make sure for this next step three that you are not charged and emotional about this. Like you really need to have really sat with your little one and be space with this. But step three is gathering information. So you want to look at the situation objectively. What's working and what isn't? What have I tried that hasn't worked yet? Are there patterns or recurring themes here? And what I would be looking for there is, am I continuing to try the same thing and expecting different results? Am I trying to beat my head against this wall? And surely if I beat my head hard enough against this wall, it can work. And what do I know about the people, the tools, or the systems involved? What do I know about this? If it's a job situation, what do I know about my manager and my coworkers? If it's a business situation, it's like, what do I know about what I've tried so far, what information I have, what this really takes? What do I know about all the things involved? For example, with my business, I've been really aware it's very likely I need to reconnect as me now. It's taken me this long to feel confident again, which is insane. But that came through just making a bunch of choices. So if I step back and I look at what's the information I've gathered from all these choices, I got that information. And then step number four, you want to identify the missing pieces. What's missing? You are not the thing that's missing. You have and are everything that you need to succeed. It's, do I need more education around something? Do I need more skills? Do I need more resources? So that's important to get. Do I need more education, skills, or resources? For example, with my client, Mary, does she need to go and have a different conversation with her boss and show him the stats, for example? These are all the stats. This is what I've done. I have been able to succeed other places. I am literally unable to make this work. And for a long time, I thought it was me, but now I don't think so. So how can we set me up for success here? Now, that's going to be her being willing to have success and succeed no matter what it takes. Do I need more education, skills, or resources? Do I need to have a different conversation with whoever's involved? And if I do, what is that conversation? Is there something about the people or the circumstances that I'm not letting myself be aware of because I've been so busy judging myself? So if I wasn't judging myself, what is it that I'm aware of about the person, the people, the business, the market? What am I aware of? What are all the different things? And maybe pull out a piece of paper and make a list. Am I anywhere projecting unrealistic expectations onto myself and others? And if I wasn't projecting expectations, what's needed here for this to really work? What if I decided is needed that maybe could be different? How could this show up in a different way? And then step number,
Five.
do you want to make a choice? Make some choices. Like review your information. Just make some choices. Look at this. Do I need to pivot? Do I need to change inputs? Do I need to seek help? Do I need to let go? Like what's really required here to create movement? And then choose something. And you can write down your actions if you choose to, or you can just run with that renewed clarity. The bigger point here is that judging yourself keeps you blind to what's really going on. You cannot have all the information because you are literally wrapped up and distracted by how wrong you think you are for what's not working. You can't even access the information that you have available to you from all the choices you've made, from what's happening, because you are drowning in self judgment. When you get with your little one who's trying to handle something she can't handle or he can't handle, and you let that calm, And then you step back and you get the information and you start to look at it in a different way, in an adult way. You let your adult take over in this particular thing. That is going to open up new possibilities, ask some new questions. I want to invite you to explore my mini mentorship session, which is the ability to come work with me for 30 minutes to see how that is for you. And if you like that, there's an extended 6-week sprint that we can engage in. What if today, instead of judging yourself, you used this method, gave yourself space and the chance that you might not be wrong, and went forward with the choices you really have instead?